Hey everyone, you're probably here because you want to cut through all the noise, right? Especially with AI moving so fast.
Absolutely. It's tough to keep up.
Exactly. You want the key info without digging through tons of articles. So that's what we're doing today. We're diving into a pretty big announcement from OpenAI. They've just unveiled two new AI reasoning models, o3 and o4-mini.
And reasoning models, just so we're clear, these aren't just finding patterns. They're designed to actually think through problems, sort of connect the dots more like a human would.
Right. Getting more insightful answers, hopefully.
Get the idea.
Okay, so our source for this deep dive is primarily a detailed report from TechCrunch that covers this launch.
A reliable source.
Yep. And our mission is pretty simple. Figure out what these models are, why they're a big deal, and, what this means in the whole AI race, all without getting bogged down in the super technical stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the big news dropped Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. OpenAI releases o3 and o4-mini.
And OpenAI is really hyping o3. They're calling it their most advanced reasoning model to date.
So, top-of-the-line stuff.
That's the message. It signals a major step up in handling complex thinking tasks.
And then there's o4-mini. How are they positioning that one?
That one's pitched as the balance point. A mix of good price, decent speed, and still strong performance.
Okay. So maybe more practical for everyday developers or broader uses.
Seems like it. Powerful, but accessible.
Gotcha. Now, what makes these really different? The article mentions something about using tools within ChatGPT itself.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty big development.
Yeah.
Unlike older models, these can actively use tools. We're talking web browsing.
So they can look up current info?
Exactly. And execute Python code.
Whoa, okay. For calculations and stuff.
Yep. And even process and generate images. It's a much more integrated capability set.
That feels like a fundamental shift. I mean, the AI isn't just answering, it's doing research, running code.
Kind of, yeah. It means they can handle workflows that used to need multiple steps or different tools, or lots of manual work from the user.
Making it more seamless.
Right. More accessible power.
And what about this think with images thing? That caught my eye. Uploading whiteboard sketches, PDF diagrams.
That's another really interesting angle. You feed it visual information, and it incorporates that into its reasoning process.
So like an architect could upload a quick sketch.
And maybe get some initial feedback, yeah. Or an engineer could have it analyze a complex system diagram. It's moving towards understanding visual data, not just text.
That's a huge leap.
It really is. And apparently it's pretty robust, too. The article says they can handle blurry photos, low-res scans.
Seriously?
Yeah, and even do things like zoom in or rotate the image to get a better look.
Okay, that's not just recognizing an image, that's like interacting with it.
Exactly. It's moving from image recognition to actual visual reasoning.
Yeah.
And for developers, that ability to run Python code right in the ChatGPT Canvas feature, that's a big practical win.
Real-time problem solving right there. Okay, so capabilities sound impressive, but how do they actually, perform on tests? The article mentions SWE Bench verified.
Right, benchmarks. You need some objective measure. SWE Bench is basically a standardized test for coding ability. How well can the AI handle real-world software engineering tasks?
Got it. So how did they do?
o3 scored 69.1%. And importantly, that was without custom scaffolding.
Meaning no special hints just for the test?
Pretty much, yeah. It tackled it raw. And o4-mini was right behind it at 68.1%.
Okay, 69.1 and 68.1. How good is that really? Need some context.
Good question. So OpenAI's previous best reasoning model, which was o3-mini, that scored 49.3% on the same test.
Wow, okay, that's a big jump. Almost 20 points for o3.
A very significant leap. And for another comparison, a strong competitor model, Anthropic's Claude 3.7 Sonnet, scored 62.3%.
So both o3 and o4-mini are outperforming that competitor benchmark too.
On this specific benchmark, yes. It clearly shows a substantial improvement in their coding and reasoning abilities.
Definitely puts the numbers in perspective. Okay, so they're powerful. How do people get their hands on them? Who gets access?
So starting immediately April 16th, if you subscribe to OpenAI's Pro, Plus, or Teen plans, you get access
To both o3 and o4-mini?
to both, plus a third variant, o4-mini High.
o4-mini High, what's that?
It's basically a 4-mini, but it spends a bit more compute time to try and ensure more reliable, accurate answers. Maybe for tasks where consistency is key.
Interesting. So a slightly more dependable version of the balanced model. And what about developers wanting to build these into their own apps?
They're covered too. All three O3, o4-mini, and o4-mini High are available through the developer APIs.
The Chat Completions API and Responses API.
That's right. So you can integrate these reasoning engines into your own services, and you pay based on usage.
Okay, let's talk pricing then. What are the costs for developers?
For O3, the top model, it's $10 per $1 million input tokens and $40 per $1 million output tokens.
Okay, tokens. Remind us what that roughly translates to.
Right, think of a token as roughly a word, maybe slightly less on average. The article gives a great sense of scale. 1 million tokens is apparently longer than the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Wow. Okay, so O3 is powerful, but definitely premium pricing.
Absolutely. Top performance comes at a cost.
And o4-mini, how's that priced?
Here's where it gets interesting. O4-mini costs the same as the previous model, O3-mini. It's 1.10 cents per million input tokens and 4.40 cents per million output tokens.
Oh, okay. So they improved performance significantly, but kept the price the same as the older, less capable model.
Exactly. That really reinforces the idea that O4-mini is aimed at being that accessible, cost-effective workhorse model for many developers.
Makes sense. Different tiers for different needs and budgets. And wasn't there mention of another model coming soon?
Yes, O3 Pro. They're planning to release that in the coming weeks.
O3 Pro. So even more powerful than O3.
Likely, yeah. Described as a more resource-intensive version, probably higher performance for really complex stuff.
Yeah.
But initially, it'll only be for ChatGPT Pro subscribers.
Gotcha. This constant rollout, the different tiers, it really highlights the competition, doesn't it? The article calls it a cutthroat global AI race.
It absolutely is. This launch isn't happening in isolation. You've got huge players like Google, Meta, Anthropic, xAI, DeepSeek, all pushing hard.
And OpenAI, while they had an early lead with things like GPT-3 and o1, competitors caught up fast, right?
They really did. Models came out that could match or even beat OpenAI's offerings on certain tasks. So this launch feels like OpenAI making a strong play to regain a clear lead, particularly in this area of advanced reasoning.
Focusing on reasoning seems key. Is that a broader trend?
Yes, the article points that out. The whole field seems to be shifting focus. Just making models bigger isn't the only answer anymore. Labs are realizing they need AI that can genuinely reason and problem solve better.
Moving beyond just language prediction towards actual thinking.
Precisely.
There was also that interesting little detail about internal discussions. O3 almost didn't make it into ChatGPT.
Yeah, that was a fascinating bit. Apparently, CEO Sam Altman initially leaned towards focusing on a different, maybe more advanced alternative tech that used O3's underlying ideas.
But competitive pressure changed things.
Seems like it. The report suggests the pressure from competitors pushed them to release O3 directly in ChatGPT sooner rather than later. It shows how dynamic things are.
Yeah, strategic decisions being made in real time based on the race. So, stepping back, what does this all signal about where OpenAI is heading next?
Well, connecting the dots, Sam Altman himself has hinted that O3 and O4-mini might be the last standalone reasoning models we see from them before. GPT-5.
GPT-5, the next big one. What does standalone imply here?
The speculation, based on the article, is that GPT-5 might be a unified model.
Unified,
Meaning it could potentially merge the strengths of traditional large language models, like GPT 4.1, with these new advanced reasoning capabilities we're seeing in O3 and O4-mini.
So instead of separate models for language and reasoning, one integrated architecture.
That seems to be the potential direction. A pretty fundamental shift in how they design and build their AI.
So O3 and O4-mini are maybe important stepping stones towards that bigger, unified GPT-5 vision?
Could be. It suggests their long-term goal is an AI that's not just great with words, but can truly think, reason, and use tools across different kinds of problems, all in one system.
Okay, wow. So let's try and quickly wrap up the key takeaways from this TechCrunch report. OpenAI launched O3, its top reasoning model, and o4-mini, the balanced option.
Right. Big new features include using tools like web browsing and Python execution inside ChatGPT, plus that really cool image reasoning capability.
And the performance benchmarks show a major jump, especially in coding tasks, putting them ahead of previous models and some competitors.
They're available now for subscribers and developers via API, with different price points reflecting their capabilities. O4-mini notably keeps the older, lower price despite being much better.
And this is all happening in that intense AI race, with these possibly being the last separate reasoning models before a potential unified GPT-5.
Exactly. So hopefully, you've now got a clear picture of this significant development without wading through all the technical jargon.
Yeah, the core insights into what's new, why it matters, and where things might be headed.
You got it.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought to leave people with. Given how fast AI reasoning is advancing, and this idea of maybe unifying language and reasoning models like in GPT-5, what completely new things might that unlock?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what applications or ways of interacting with tech could emerge that we, can't even really imagine clearly right now? How might that change things?
Definitely something to chew on. The pace is just incredible.